Good evening, and welcome to the Alpha Shift podcast. This is David Kruger.
And I'm Don Kowalewski.
And we are here with another fun episode. Tonight, we are going to get a little serious on your asses. We are going to talk a lot about living life to the fullest, living like you're dying, and the importance of a community. You know, tonight, this is a real personal episode for Don and I. This is the near one year and 1 week anniversary of the passing of a dear friend. Our age, 47 years old. Very unexpected. And it came at a time, for me when I was very much absorbed in my own crap. And it really kind of set me straight. And so, we're gonna really talk tonight about living life, with no apologies, and not getting caught up in the small stuff. So, what do you think, Don?
I think we're gonna learn lessons from a life well lived.
Well lived.
It's unfortunate sometimes that it takes losing someone to kind of give you a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Or for you to realize all the things about that person that you loved.
Yes.
And then maybe even reflect back, why did that great person love me? And,
Yeah.
People who've lost parents, I lost my mom, and it was the same thing. There were many moments where I was not a great son, but she loved me unconditionally. And then you reflect, like, what a great person. And that's what it was with Matt.
Yeah.
And I think I've talked about this. We somehow think there's a right way. Remember, we've talked about this in the past. There's a right way. And, of course, grandparents should go first, then parents. We all should outlive.
Yes.
Then
everyone.
we go, then our kids after us. And so when it comes and someone at our own age, way too soon, with so much life left to live, goes, you can't help but just get punched in the gut and re-examine what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me, for the sake of the audience, let me go back and let's talk a little bit about who Matt was, give him some context. As you know from listening to previous episodes, Don and I kind of came up in the same fraternity at Michigan State University. We've got our Matt shirts on with our Michigan State colors. And I've got my red hat. For those of you watching on the video feed, I'm wearing my red fedora tonight. It's my power color. I've been told by my, we talked about my numerologist people. It's my power color. It helps me broadcast my energy and my vibration.
I feel like that hat says one of two things.
Okay.
First, it says that guy is annoying, and or it says that guy is interesting.
Yeah.
What is going on with the red hat?
And sometimes there's a fine line between annoying and
I'm going to go ask him, what is up with the red hat?
What is up with I'm a little weird about the red because I don't wear red shirts. I don't have a red jacket. Red's a loud color. Right. There's not a lot of clothing out there in red.
And actually, I'm going to make a note because that feeds right into what we're going to talk about, Matt.
Okay, yes.
Because my instinct would be, look at that a-hole in the red hat. Mm-hmm. Who does he think he is?
Who the fuck does he think he is?
What is he trying to prove?
Yeah.
Matt would be genuinely curious. Mm-hmm. Why the red hat?
Yeah.
What is up with this guy with the red hat?
Hey, what about you and your red hat?
It must be significant. Maybe he's part of a tribe or a group or a cult or whatever. Yeah. Maybe I want to be a part of that. And that is what Matt did.
That's what he did.
He would walk right up, start a conversation. He held no judgment.
Yes.
And so, again, we're going to talk a lot about Matt, and I'm not going to apologize for it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because this is going to be, Matt's going to be a lesson in a life well lived, what you and I learned about that. And, and for me personally, it's very much colored how I'm moving forward in my life now. And because I'm going to tie it in with where I was at in my life and like how it hit at that right time. And very selfishly, I'm like, I took a lot out of Matt's passing and about that experience and about us all coming together. And now where I'm at in my life now is largely, it was affected by that turning point.
I'm 100% with you.
Yeah.
I've lived the last year and a week differently than I lived the 46 years before that.
Yeah, and because it's so easy to get into a silly pattern. But let me just tell the audience a little bit who Matt was. Matt was that guy. He was one of our fraternity brothers. He was in the house when I got there. He'd probably been there for a year at that point. And he was so social. He just had abilities and tendencies that, to me, were mystifying. He could get in the center of a group and he would just have everybody laughing, and he just he was so easily, won people over.
When you get a group of guys like that,
Yeah.
you get conflicts.
Yes.
Guys butt head.
Yes.
There are alpha males in the alpha shift, everyone trying to prove themselves,
Yes.
fighting over the same girls. Matt avoided that.
Yes.
He elevated himself above that.
Yes.
So he was, in the fraternity system,
Yes.
you join and you get a big brother, and the big brother shows you the way. Matt Bair and a few other guys, they were everyone's big brother.
Yes.
They had the wisdom. They had it figured out. They were managing to school. He had a very serious girlfriend.
Yes.
He held offices. He was going places. He wasn't flunking out of classes. And so he was a guy that was very easy to look up to.
Very easy to look up to. He very easily stepped into the role of mentor.
Right.
And
certainly when you're that age, you're not like, I didn't know why I liked that guy so much.
Yeah.
And why a guy like Chris liked the guy like Chris and I, Dave and I, you and I, Drew, we're all different people.
Very different, yeah.
But Matt had a way of making us all feel like his best friend.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of what initially drew everyone to us.
Yes.
And so then kind of what happened after graduation?
After graduation, everybody kind of, as you said, and we're going to present at the very end of this podcast, an excellent story slam competition that Don presented about Matt and about how everyone, we all go our separate ways. We're all so excited to, at that point in life, when we're all young, we're always thinking about the future. We're going to make all this money. We're going to have this great stuff going on in life. And maybe that's the trajectory you have to have when you're a kid. What I don't think you realize, though, is that you're really living the best moments at all times. And it's like, so yeah, we kind of went our separate ways. I really went my separate way. You guys did a much better job of like staying together. I was out in California. I was going to be a famous film producer. That's a story. We should do that for a podcast episode.
Right.
Like some of my experiences there. And, so everybody kind of falls a little bit out of touch. But Matt was so good at like keeping people together. And and we're gonna share your story at the end about the corned beef.
Right. Well, we're also gonna share what this shirt means. MATT. Like his name was Matt.
Yes.
But there's more to it because,
Yes.
like you said, we all went our separate ways, getting married, different things. But Matt and Jen,
yes,
they were a very special couple, and they had a way of keeping us all together. And it was New Year's Eve parties at their house.
They had a nickname. Their house was called the Barriott.
Yes.
Yeah, Matt's last name was Bair, Bair, and so they call it the Barriott because you were always welcome to stay at their home as long as you wanted. And they were wonderful.
And for extended stay.
For extended stay.
Our friends Dave and Rick.
Yeah.
Like months on end they stayed there almost as boarders. And
yeah.
I remember being a young married couple, looking at Matt and Jen also being a young married couple, and say, how could they do this? Like, I like getting home from work and it's just me and my wife.
Yeah.
And maybe that was our way to do it, but that certainly wasn't Matt's way to do it.
I remember with Dave, in 2001, I moved back from California. And I had met my soon-to-be wife / ex-wife later on. And I'd moved back to Michigan and didn't have a job. And I got a call from Matt Bair. And Matt's like, so what are you doing for work? I'm like, nothing. I'm like homeless. And he's like, well, why don't you? And he was working at the time for Visual Services, and they were doing like all that training for Ford Motor Company.
Yes, I remember.
Yes, and I came down and worked with him and Dave Adamek. And that was one of the most, outside of college, that was one of the most fun times. And Dave was living with Matt and Jen at the time.
See,
and hearing those stories, and it was just no problem for Matt and Jen,
See, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Because guess who didn't call you? Me. I didn't call you to see if you had work, what's going on, offer you a job, but Matt just brought you into the fold.
He just thought to do that, and that really made it. And that made a huge difference to me. I was right at a point in my life when it was really important, and I've never forgotten that.
Yeah.
And he was a leader at work. And everybody looked up to him there.
Of course.
And it was really something. And so I was always appreciative to him for that, and always really loved that time, and loved hearing stories about him and Adamek and.
Well, I always feel like he kept, like, I don't know what we offered to him other than entertainment, but if he just kind of kept us around.
Yes.
I think you remember I talked at the funeral, and I compared him to Lorne Michaels.
Yeah.
Like, Lorne Michaels isn't on camera.
Right.
But he is able to identify some amazing talent, humor, special gifts, and he brings them all together.
Yeah, we were the cast of
when
SNL.
it really worked.
He was Lorne Michaels.
We were his cast.
Yeah, we were his cast. And we were doing the skits on air.
Yeah, and that was, his magic, right? Mm-hmm. Because it wasn't just some of us were worthy of being his friends, and then some people are just acquaintances. If you became his friend, you were his friend.
You were his friend.
And that, speaks to, I mean, I don't know how we're going to get into this, but Matt, and if I could spin around here on camera, you can read what the letters stand for.
Yeah, we can see it pretty well.
All right. So
M, make friends wherever you go. A, accept everyone, whoever they are. T, take time for those around you. And T, tell people how much they mean to you. That's fantastic.
Yep.
That is what he was, and that is living life to the fullest. And that's, if we could just tell you to do that, we could just leave the audience with it. Do that for the rest of your life. Every day you will live a full life.
Yeah, exactly. And so we were talking about this before the podcast.
Yes.
And we said, okay, if you could live life to the fullest, or the old cliche, live every day like you were dying.
Yes.
If you live like that, think how attractive that is.
Yes.
Attractive that is to someone you want to date, fall in love with, want them to fall in love with you, marry, live happily. Think of how attractive that is to a boss.
Yes.
They want to bring you into their company because this person just has this. He does it. He goes for broke. He knows.
Yes, you will exude a magnetism that people can't quite identify.
Right. And it's not if today was my last day on earth, because, that you don't actually live like that. That's a false premise.
Right.
Because if I knew tomorrow I was not going to be here, well, I pretty much would get into like a 24-hour hug with my family and not let them go, and I would just like cry the whole time.
Right.
But that's not what the lesson is.
No.
The lesson is, and it's very hard sometimes,
Yeah.
is when the rent comes due and the car payment comes due and the paycheck wasn't quite what it was and everything is beating you down and you have job uncertainty.
Yeah.
Or, you find out a family member is sick and in the hospital, things you can't control, and it just weighs you down. That will happen.
Yes.
But it's what you do in that next moment, how you approach that, knowing that these things do happen. But that doesn't mean you have to be a jerk to the person at Starbucks or cut someone off in traffic and flip them off because you're in a bad mood, so you're going to work to make someone else in a bad mood.
Right. When you can have faith, when you know that life is always eventually working to your advantage, that you are always essentially safe, that you are, to get weird on you, you are a spiritual being in a human body.
Yep.
And that all of the things that you think are so scary really aren't that bad. That the thing that, when you are laying there in the middle of the street after the Greyhound bus ran you over in your last few minutes of life, if I get more on you, you're going to be thinking about the loving you did or didn't do.
Absolutely.
You're not going to be thinking about the bills that didn't get paid, the shit on the to-do list that didn't get done.
The size of my house,
the car and all of these things.
But you talk about that. Someday you're going to get a Hellcat, and we're going to drive up and down the streets of New York and just be awesome. But you don't want to just, because you love cars, you love the idea of you and me cruising up and down Royal Oak,
the Hellcat.
And then what kind of trouble can we get into?
What kind of trouble can we get into?
Who can we meet? And that's the true, I guess, what the goal should be.
And Hellcats are great, but if we can just get in trouble some other way, that's what'll be the meaning of life.
Exactly.
I mean, the Hellcat's not that important.
Right.
The stuff isn't that important. It's just it's the feeling that it gives you and the relationships that you have, and it's like it's become so clear to me that so much of the. And, I don't really care that much about stuff and money, honestly. I mean, if I've got, a 6-pack of beer in the fridge and and I've got some people to hang out with. I mean, I don't need much to be. I don't really need much as long as I feel good in my body and I'm like healthy.
Internet, cable.
My
list is short.
Yeah, it's a very short list. And it's like it's so much of what you think you need to have is about showing up and about like the image you're supposed to project, to other people and worrying about what other people think, which is a specter. It's a ghost. It's not a real thing. People are too busy with their own shit. They don't care about you.
Right.
It's like that's the beauty of it.
Unless you're wearing a red hat.
Then
they do care about you. They want to know what is going on with the red hat.
What is with this obnoxious guy with the red damn hat? Who wears a red fedora? You can't even get these. I had to order it on Amazon.
I haven't seen one.
Yeah,
at TJ Maxx.
I went to the magical oracle place where you can get anything. Amazon, the Amazon app. And I got my damn red fedora. You can look up red fedora. It actually shows up and you can buy one. And so I did. I got my $60 red. I got it for a mere $60. I'm very happy with it. It's a felt red fedora, and it's my power hat because I don't wear red. It's like I'm supposed to wear red for my power color. Who has red anything?
No, I mean I have a couple red T-shirts.
Okay.
Team Jetpack is a red T-shirt.
Okay,
good
Team Jetpack
red.
would. That fits for Team Jetpack.
But no, it's a power hat. I like it.
It's a power hat. I'm trying it for the podcast. If I, and I was telling Don before the podcast. Another one of my sly motivations for trying out the hat is because whenever I watch the playback on the video, I'm like, God damn, my forehead is huge, and so this kind of covers up my forehead. So we'll see. I'll look at this one and see what can I stand more, the forehead or the red hat.
So I think red hat is a good thing.
All right, yeah.
There's lots of famous men in history that they're known for their hat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could totally do that.
Abe Lincoln.
Yeah,
Tom Landry.
That's right. The top hat. Yeah.
Napoleon,
yes. The big
guy. I don't know if I was going out for Halloween. I know exactly. My Napoleon costume would start with the hat.
I could be Napoleon Bonaparte. I would want to conquer people and have a hot wife like Josephine. And she was all kinds of trouble for him. We'll do a Napoleon Bonaparte and Josephine episode.
Yes.
Because she ran him around hard, and when she dicked him over, France started losing territory. So, serious stuff can happen.
He is lucky TMZ was not around.
Yes. Napoleon and Josephine, the true story.
He'd have been dragged through.
Yeah, that would have been
awful on Twitter. They would have had a...
Yes.
It'd been terrible.
So yeah. And you know what? The hell with all of it. We're living life like to the fullest.
Yep.
And I can tell you, the last several weeks I've just been feeling good, Don. I'm not worried about all of the things about is my business going to make enough money? Am I ever going to be married again? I just don't care anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a wonderful time.
That's a good approach.
It's a great place, and it's not a nihilistic. I don't care. It's like I'm perfect just the way I am. I'm fine. It's like as long as I'm enjoying life, as long as I'm showing up for the people I love, because if I'm laying bleeding under the Greyhound bus tomorrow, what will matter and what will not. And I know that's a horrible, the analogy, my illustration about the Greyhound bleeding under the Greyhound bus. But seriously, because honestly, anything can happen at any time. Matt was out running with Dave.
Yep.
They were out for a jog. Matt had a congenital heart condition that very few of us knew about. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so, and he managed it most of his life. He stayed very fit. I remember hearing that he had a heart attack. Matt was like fit. He ran. I remember that being shocked when I heard that because of that.
And I certainly haven't asked all the medical questions that I need to know, but I do know that Matt has always been a runner. Yeah. He's always been fit.
I remember in college he ran.
And when he and Dave were out for a run, it wasn't something out of the ordinary. He wasn't doing something crazy.
Yeah, when I was working with them, they would go running.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't his doctor tell him not to? No.
Yeah.
His doctor didn't tell him not to.
I was the lazy ass who didn't run.
Right.
Yeah, they were running. They were out running.
And maybe that's but it's a tragedy. They call it a tragedy no one expected it.
Yeah.
It came completely out of left field.
Yeah.
And it does get back to the whole point of this.
Yes.
Is living life to the fullest.
Yes.
And what did we write down? Living like there's no tomorrow.
Yes.
Can be incredibly attractive.
Yes.
To your spouse, to your friends, to your bosses, and to yourself.
It's like an appreciation. It's not like you said, it's not like you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm going to die tomorrow and you're just clinging on. It's like just you getting all the quality lived today in case you're not going to have time for it tomorrow.
Right. Like I tweeted today, 97% of the population has a podcast, but now it's 97.1 with you and I.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. We have a story to tell.
We have a story to tell.
The modern technology has made it so that this is a place where we can go once a week or a couple times a month and tell those stories.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
By the reaction that we've gotten on the Facebook page, a couple tweets back at us, I got a random email from a random stranger saying that, I really like that story and what you told.
Who I know, and she reached out to you and not me.
That makes a huge impact.
Yeah.
And as you said, at the end of this, we'll, I told the story of Matt and our corned beef adventure at the Moth Grand Slam.
Yes.
And I did tell it like I wanted to win.
Yeah.
But I wanted that story to be out there to live forever, as you'll hear at the end of it. And it teaches another lesson.
Yes.
And that is when you live life to the fullest and you keep your eyes open and you're aware of things around you and you're looking for the good, then you will have those stories. You will have those adventures.
Yes.
Versus if you close in.
Yes.
If you're the type that says, I'm going to go home and I like to play Xbox and I have a bunch of stuff stacked up on my DVR and it's so much work and I'm nervous. What if I go to that event or that thing at my church and people don't like me and they're all a group of friends? You're imagining the worst situation and you're continuing to close yourself off.
Yeah, and the mind is closing you off. Believe me, go to the church thing.
Exactly.
Go be with people. The thing that we have to think about in modern society, especially when it comes to like living life to the fullest, is we've become too independent. We don't need.
It is. It's easier to say, I don't need anyone.
I don't need anyone. I can go home and watch TV.
Right.
I can grab carry out on the way home.
Yep.
We just don't, we don't live in community anymore.
I think I have said this out loud, and I definitely think it. When I go to a funeral like Matt's, or for my mom, or for my uncle Jerry, and I see all those people, and they're just devastated, part of me is like, you know what? I'm going to stop making friends and being nice to people because I don't want anybody to be this sad on the day that I go. I want them to just, finally get rid of that guy. But unfortunately, that's not easy either. It works. I like people. Yeah. And I like to make them laugh, and I like to hear their stories. So I guess since I'm not going to be the angry hermit who lives alone, dies alone, and doesn't affect anyone, I'm going to go the other way.
Yeah, go by all means. I want to go the other way.
I'm going to try to be bigger than I can be, nicer than is just easy and comfortable, and that would be the lesson that I took away from Matt.
Yeah, I looked around at everyone who was there to honor him, and listened to the stories they were telling, and I'm like, I need to make a bigger impact. Not that I need to put pressure on myself, but I need to open up and share more of my heart. I need to stop being that guy who comes home at night. And, I didn't do Xbox, but watches Netflix and just kind of goes within. I'm an introvert, and so I kind of tend to be a little more introverted. And so, for me, it's a little bit more of a discipline to, get out and do what I need to do and be with people and make an effort. And, and I really need to start using my voice. That's why I wanted to get this podcast started.
Yeah.
That's why it's such a passion to do this.
Our other friend, Dave.
Yeah.
He told a story. It happened to him. I'm going to say it was right after the funeral. And what he likes to do, like a lot of us do, he travels a bunch. He gets on the plane. He puts on his headphones, and it's his own little world. Don't talk to me. Don't bother me. But on this particular flight, and it was literally days after Matt passed away, a guy started talking to him about his, I'm going to say his iPhone, something. Okay. I can't remember what it was, but the guy started talking while they were getting on the plane.
Okay.
And Dave was like, oh my God, is this guy ever going to stop? And the guy didn't stop. And Dave wanted to just put on his headphones, slink into his chair, and be in his own world. And then a light came on. And he said, no, you know what? Matt would talk to this guy the whole flight for as long as it took about every little nuance of the iPhone and how he uses it and how he charges it. And so Dave did. Talked to him the entire flight. And then all the way off until they parted ways in the airport, which for Dave is completely out of character. But it's not. But it's not. Dave is a super social guy.
Yeah, Dave is like a really Dave is a real extra.
Right, but we have our moments. We have our moments. Like I want to go to a coffee shop. I'll put my earbuds in, and this means nobody talk to me.
Right, and Dave's thing is on a flight. Leave me alone.
Right, it's a long flight. I don't want to make the small talk. I don't want to talk about the weather. I don't want to know about you and your kids. But in this moment,
I'm like that. I'm exactly like Dave.
It's like Matt, because Matt would never sought isolation.
No,
like he would want to get to know that person.
Yes,
and as I said at his funeral, he would make friends with that person. He would say, next time you're in Detroit, come over for dinner.
Yeah.
95% of people don't do that.
No.
And he had the wife that would say, oh, you met a random guy on the plane and his wife and him are coming over for dinner? Wonderful.
They were so perfect for each other.
And they would bring out 3 bottles of wine. Yes. And as I said, I never thought of dinner time being 10:45 in the evening. But when you went to Matt and Jen's house for dinner, that's about when dinner was served, 10:45.
Yeah. Okay, one more thing. We've been talking about Matt, and we've been talking about, the way he had such an open heart toward everyone, and the way that affected everyone. I want to make a comment, since this is about the alpha shift, and we talk about men and their relationship with women. Another thing Matt did right is he met the exact right woman for him when he was 18, for God's sake?
I think it was earlier than that.
Jesus, Lord in heaven. Damn you, Matt. It's like, I'm 46 years old, I'm still working on it. Matt was 17 years old.
Yeah, but they talked about it. It was like a lightning bolt moment. Yeah. And he was like, I'm going to be with her forever. And they were perfect.
And he was. I never knew Matt without Jen.
Nope.
She was always a part of him.
Yeah.
From the first I met him for forever. And I just think that is such a wonderful and unfortunately rare thing, in the world, for people to, and you and Kathy are very special. You were together almost at that time, and Ben and Michelle, and there and there's and Drew and Sharon,
Tim and Jeanette, Drew and Sharon,
yes, and so it's like
Steve and
Suzanne, yes. It's so we have a collection of couples who have been successful over the years and got together early.
Yeah.
And I think that's a part of success is, for couples is, you get together when you're young, you have similar values, and you build a life together. And for some of us who are middle age and still working on it, it doesn't really help us, but it's
well, there it goes again. It goes with that comparison.
That comparison thing, yes, it's true. It's
did I do it right? I mean, I mentioned this on the first one, and it's a story I will tell someday, but the long story is I met Kathy when I was 15, when my entire life was uprooted from Sterling Heights, and we moved to Grand Rapids because of my dad's job.
Uh-huh.
And so that was a terrible moment in my life.
Okay.
But on that first day of school, I met this girl, Kathy. She was completely friendly, introduced me to friends that helped make transitioning into this mega school much easier.
Okay.
And she was just very friendly.
Okay.
And we didn't start dating till we were 19.
Okay.
But it was just the fact, it wasn't the lightning bolt,
sure.
I'm in love with her, I'm going to marry her. I didn't, 19, maybe when I was 20, I was like, I'm going to be with her forever. But it's luck. So I was terribly unlucky that my whole life got uprooted and I had to move when I was a sophomore in high school. But then if I look back, wow, how lucky that was with the friends I have to this day, and of course the wife I have to this day.
The lightning bolt is great, but it's not necessary. I have had relationships. See, I've had like you, like Matt and Jen. I've had like you and Kathy. I've had the lightning bolt, and I've had the slow burn.
Okay.
I've had both, and they're both equally valid. One's not better than the other. The lightning bolt can get you in a lot of trouble, actually. You can have lightning bolts with women who are so bad for you. Just as an aside, I know we're talking about living like you're dying and everything, but I want to a couple episodes ago we talked about I was going to run the numerology numbers on my ex-wife and my ex-girlfriend. I ran them.
Okay.
And my ex-wife and I never had a chance. We had all kinds of. We'll go over this in a future episode, but we had a lot of challenge numbers and our life paths were totally different, and there was just almost no way that could have worked. But I ran my recent ex-girlfriend. That could have worked.
Okay.
That was like...
If only we would have had the podcast before.
It's
we could have coached you through it. We could have brought your relationship into the podcast each week.
Yeah, and brought her on and said, "What's wrong with you?" And all,
that would have ended it.
No, that would have ended it, right? No, it's okay. We had the potential, but like the sum total of life choices and where we were at, it still wouldn't have worked. But sometimes you got to have the potential to make it. You got to have that compatibility, and that's what Matt and Jen had. That's what you and Kathy have. That's what Steve and Suzanne have, because it inherently shouldn't be that fucking hard. And for some people it just is, and it's not necessarily that the people who have a rough go of their relationships are bad people. They're just with someone they're incompatible with. And so there is some luck to it, because let me tell you, you guys when you were in college had no idea about compatibility or about any of this stuff. No, it just worked out.
We were having a blast.
You were having a blast.
All I remember is from college is that we had a blast.
Yes.
And I guess I was lucky enough that she let me be crazy frat guy.
Yes.
And I didn't have to be boyfriend, fiance only.
Right.
And so I was able to just have a great time being a fraternity brother.
Yes.
But also a great time being a boyfriend and getting to know her family and really falling in love.
Yes.
And then
slowly over time, that's how falling in love really works. It takes time.
Right. And then it mixed, and then we had the parties and the hay rides together, which is a fraternity sorority thing. If you don't know, but sororities have hayride parties, and then there's formals, and then there's football games and tailgates, and
and then just kind of Thursday night keggers that just go crazy.
Right.
Yeah, that's God. Those two.
Right. Oh, it's the innocence of you and your friends are going to that bar. Well, my friends and I are going to this bar. Well, maybe later we'll all go to this third bar and we'll meet up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe we won't. But it was just being able to still live. And like for me, not every guy in college that is the right path. That he and his girlfriend are going to be like party separately and then party together. But for us, it worked.
My girlfriend and I partied.
So it wasn't. Now that I think about it, it wasn't lightning bolt. It took a lot of learning.
Yeah,
each other and
absolutely, and that's equally valid. I mean, everyone loves the story of the lightning bolt, but sometimes it's a slow burn. It builds over time.
Yeah.
Even if you have a lightning bolt relationship, you still have to build it over time.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean that you magically have a complete foundation. You still have to build the foundation.
I remember Jen talking to me shortly after Matt passed away, and she was just very honest. It wasn't always easy.
Sure. Yeah, that's honesty, because it's never always easy for anyone.
Right. We look at them, Matt and Jen are perfect. They're perfect. Everything was perfect. Every day was perfect.
Yes.
Never a fight.
They were the perfect couple. Why can't we all be like that?
No chance that all his travel and his multiple jobs and moving all over the place. No headache. No stress.
They never had any problems. And Jen can be a pretty spirited girl. I can see her getting pretty pissed.
Right.
But I wouldn't want to get on their bad side.
But it just speaks to the lightning bolt, and that it does take work.
Yes, it does take work. Yeah. I saw a great, I'm always making fun of Facebook memes and people living by Facebook memes, but it was about the soulmate that I saw. A soulmate doesn't mean it's supposed to be easy. It means you will still face trials and travails that will try to pull you apart, and you just simply overcome them. And that's really the truth. It's like, that, when you come together with someone that you love and that it's a great combination and you're going to start a life together, things will conspire to like mess you up. And it's just the two of you got to come together through it. Mm-hmm. It's coming together and growing strong together. That's a part of the process. Expect there to be challenges.
Absolutely.
Invite the just know that they're going to come, and that's why I think the great thing about good compatibility, and why I've gotten interested in things like numerology. Dave ordered the book, by the way. Did you see the comment that he put on Facebook, or he put a comment somewhere? He ordered the book. He ordered the numerology book.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have to go back to numerology real quick.
Yeah.
I hate to go back. So there is someone on Twitter who's been telling me, you better tell me more about this numerology, or just stop talking about it. And here we are talking about it again. You ran the numbers. Is there a way in 1 minute or less that you could say what numerology is?
Okay, what it is, and we will do a full episode about this later on. But what it is. It is based on Pythagoras was a Greek mathematician, and he felt the entire universe could be described through with mathematics. That everything was a mathematical theorem, and he would apparently download like information. And so the Pythagorean numerology method, every letter of the alphabet, it corresponds to a number. And so you get this whole chart, and what you do is you take your name that you go by and your birth date, and you come up with like 6 numbers, like a soul number, a power name number, your life path number, all these different numbers.
Okay.
And so I've got, and I will bring this on an episode.
Okay,
I will show you all
this is good enough explanation to tell our Chris.
Tell Chris.
Tell Chris that it is a thing.
It is a thing.
But it would take a whole 45-minute episode.
And so I get my 6 numbers. And so let's say we're taking a woman, maybe my wife, or someone I'm interested in dating.
Take my wife, please.
Take my wife, please. And we'll take her numbers, and we'll line her numbers up next to my numbers. And then each number is either a natural match number, a neutral number, a compatible number, or a challenge number.
Okay.
And so you create this chart, and if you have too many challenge numbers, it ain't really going to work. And the most important number in the whole chart is your life path number. And so there's a whole way you rank them. And so you can, and I went through with my last girlfriend and my ex-wife, and I saw very clearly why things happened the way they did. Right. And it made a lot of sense.
Well,
and so
a future episode we'll do that. Of course, I am scared to even do that, run those numbers with my wife and I.
I don't think honestly, but Don, at your point, for you, it's a moot point because you've already proven success.
Okay.
So it's like,
well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've already demonstrated success. If you were like a year married and things were weird, then I'd be worried. Okay. But it's like you've been married for 20 years now.
22 years.
Jesus, Lord in heaven! Mm-hmm. Congratulations!
Thank you.
Yeah, that's success, Don. That's it. This, yeah. People who
I wouldn't let the numbers really change. No matter what they say, I'm not going to really let them change things. But it'd be very interesting.
Yeah, no. But I think that when you've been married for more than 15 some years, people who get divorced after being married 30 years are just annoyed. There's no reason for that. It's like you're just being an ass. You just want to move on. You know what I mean? It's like you've demonstrated that you can do it.
I would love to interview those people because I wonder. Okay, so you've been married, but when did you actually get divorced?
Right.
Like when in your head did you say this is it?
Like 10 years in,
and how long did it take you to have the guts to do it?
Yeah.
And I don't know. This is a lesson for another time. I talk about people who get divorced, mm-hmm. and there's a couple different ways that people do it. Sometimes it's just very honest. Yeah. Like, you know what? I thought I loved you. I don't love you anymore. This isn't working out.
Right.
Then there are the people that they're cowardly, and they cheat.
Yep.
And I think a lot of times they're doing it hoping to be caught, mm-hmm. because that would be the easy way to just break it off and be like, oh, I made one mistake, and then she or he went crazy on me. I wanted to make it work, but I couldn't. But
that's what chronic cheating is.
Yeah, but you've broken it. You wanted to get caught.
Yeah, especially when the cheating goes on. It's people could argue that, and I don't condone cheating in any capacity, but it's like when you've got someone who cheats on a regular basis, I think that is subconsciously going on. It's like, yeah, catch me.
Yep.
It's especially women, because it's based on my observation in cases I've looked at. Women can go on for an extended period of time unhappy, and oftentimes when a husband is being left by his wife, and by the way, women are initiating 80% of divorces today, and so what's happening, I think, is in so many times the husband is like, I never saw it coming. I can't believe this. Why did it happen? And the reason is because she will stick with a situation and let her feeling for her husband dissipate one little iota at a time. Because she's trying to hang in there and do the right thing. Mm-hmm. It's not like she's evil. She's trying to hang in there and do the right thing. And it's like
maybe she thinks she's getting out of her system.
Yeah.
And then everything's gonna be great again.
Right. And it's like doesn't bring it up to him, or maybe they're tired of arguing about like whatever it is they argue about, and so it's like, and she starts to close her heart a little bit at a time, till her heart's totally closed, and now she just feels nothing, and she's like, then you hear, I don't love you anymore, I love you but I'm not in love with you, and that's when that happens.
Uh-huh.
And is because she's kind of let that go, and because women naturally want to be pleasers. They don't want to rock the boat and create drama and fighting. And I think that certainly happened to me.
Okay.
I think that, it's not like it was some sort of insidious, like she was evil. It was just that, especially with my ex-wife, I think that she was just unhappy about certain things, and we butted heads. She got tired of butting heads. She kept it to herself, and her heart slowly closed. And by the time we were divorcing, it's like, who are you?
Right.
Where did my wife go?
Right.
That's what I remember feeling that way. It's like, who are you? Where's my wife?
Well, and that's what I said. There is a healthy way to break up. It's not easy.
No.
And there is a healthy way probably to get divorced because, people do change.
Yes, people do change. And the healthy way would be honesty, radical honesty, which is hard.
Right.
Because
lightning bolts and fireworks can turn to just, regular clear skies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're off topic, but we started talking about living life to the fullest.
Living life that's okay.
And being
because
happy.
This is a very natural, very free association. We just go.
Yep.
Yes, living life to the fullest, without fear, even if she's going to leave you later on. But check the numbers before you get together. So that's our new thing, is check the numbers.
Numerology.
Yeah, numerology. But even if you didn't do that, just show up, live, listen, love. We learned a great lesson, and I'll bet you a lot of you listening, if you've listened to Don and I talk about Matt and the way he lived, I bet everyone's got a family member or a friend or someone they lost.
Oh, for sure.
Someone who gave them that insight. That because sometimes experiencing someone's passing, as sad as it is, can be a blessing, in that it reminds us to live our lives to the fullest. It's because we get so surrounded by the messages of survival, pay the bills, pay the mortgage, get in the rat race, and you kind of forget that life is for living.
Right, and that's so that's a good point. And with Matt, it took until I lost Matt that I really woke up.
Yeah.
Because my mother passed away when she was 58 years old. And I had my second of 3 children, I had a brand new baby, and it was devastating. It just shouldn't have happened. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that it woke me up. And then I had, I'll call it a near-death experience, and that didn't quite wake me up. And then my uncle, who I'm very close with, who really in so many ways kind of stepped into my mom's place after she went, it also didn't wake me up. But it was something about when Matt went.
What do you think it was about Matt
I said,
that woke you up when the others didn't?
Because he was my age. He had just a very similar, he had a wife and 3 kids. I had a wife and 3 kids entering their teenage years. And it was, Matt was a guy that, when something bad would happen, Matt would be a guy that would take the time, the first tee. He would take the time to listen. It didn't matter if he was at work or wherever. It just seemed like, he must have not been busy. Yeah. He talked to me for 45 minutes, and we had some laughs, and we had some advice. He had some advice. I didn't change jobs without calling him. I had babies. We talked. It was just Matt was always there, and when suddenly I realized he wasn't there, I just had to ask myself, okay, if I were to call Matt and I was just going to tell him that, I'm just sad all the time. I'm just sad all the time, and I'm paralyzed with this sadness, and I won't do anything, he wouldn't let me get away with that. Yeah. And it just changed my outlook.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy, but when I get into a rough situation, or I'm incredibly overtired, or, my kids are squawking at me, I just think Matt would like to be experiencing all that.
Yes.
He didn't get to fight with his teenage daughters, but he would have liked to, and I get to. Yeah. That is a blessing.
It is a blessing. The life experiences that you are getting.
Right. Fighting with my teenage daughter is not the end of the world. It's gone on throughout history, and I'll get through it.
Yes.
And they only last for so long, and they're usually about nothing. And I have an amazing daughter, and if I let myself just think of that, even when I'm in the fight, I'm going to say, you know what? This is either not worth fighting about, or this is worth fighting about. And so that's the lesson.
That's the lesson. There. Life is precious.
Yep.
In all of its incarnations, all the things that we even think are negative.
Yep.
It's
And so you said, a lot of people listening, everyone has lost somebody.
Everyone has
met
lost
somebody. And I've been to some funerals, and I've heard just amazing stories of people, and I'm always thinking, wow. am I amazing? I am not amazing. I just don't feel amazing. Like, what do I do? What do I bring to the world? And it takes some time. Yes. But I think life, not everybody gets it right, perfect, right out of the gate.
No.
It seemed that Matt did.
It seemed like that. I mean, if Matt were here, if we could have Matt as a guest on the show,
yeah,
if he could just materialize right between us, I'm sure that he would have plenty to say. Like, guys, I appreciate it all, but I've had plenty of imperfect moments.
Yes,
you know what I mean. He'd probably be very quick to correct us and then crack a joke and have a drink. But it's I really we all feel that way about ourselves. Like, God, I'm not that great. I don't measure up. I'm not as special as this person and that person, and I don't know what the truth is. I don't know who racks up against who better or what. I know that we all feel that way about ourselves. We all feel we could do better.
Yep.
I think everyone, probably universally, unless you're a crazy narcissist and just have the delusions of grandeur.
I'm perfect.
Right. Yeah.
I can't believe how perfect I am.
I can't believe how perfect I am. I wake up perfect every day, and the birds chirp in the trees because I am awake and experiencing this day.
When I walk into a room, everyone wants to talk to me and be my friend.
Talk to me and be near me and be my friend.
But the point, like you said, why did it stick? The fact that it did, and I'm only a year and a week into me thinking that it stuck.
Yeah.
But it's don't give up. It's like a New Year's resolution. Just because you say, okay, on January 1st, I'm going to exercise every day, and then by January 3rd, you're not. Don't give up. Don't label yourself as, I'm a non-exerciser. I'm never going to be healthy. I'm never going to lose weight.
Right.
I'm as of Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving, I'm not eating any more pizza. I'm going to be super healthy. And if it doesn't stick, don't give up.
Yeah.
The fact that you want it, you're just learning how to get it right.
How to get it right. I mean, the way I look at it, what choice do you have? Mm-hmm. You could give up and then it'd be over. What the hell choice do you have? You have to keep going. You have to create what you want.
Yeah.
So it's...
So when I wrote down here, I'm in sales for a living.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's a stat that the rule of sales is that it takes 8 cold call attempts to reach a prospect.
Yeah.
Now this is just the very first outing. So just to pick up the phone. Hey, Dave, I would like to be an advertiser on your podcast. Give me a call back. Actually, that one would be pretty easy.
Yeah.
You, Dave, I'm calling Pepsi. Pepsi, I would like you to be an advertiser on my podcast. I don't know how many people I have listening, but I just know I love Pepsi, and I want you to be on my podcast. They're not going to call you back. Right. But if you call them again 8 times, they might finally call you back, and now you're engaging.
Right.
The other thing is 80% of sales require 5 follow-up calls, but 44% of sellers give up after 1 follow-up. So this is, I think, sales, what I do, is just a lesson in life.
Yes.
You're trying to sell yourself on this idea that you're going to be a better person.
Yes.
After you lose someone that you love, that you were inspired by, and you are not going to live another day. But don't worry if it doesn't happen the first time.
Right.
It might take 8 times. And keep following up. Keep hanging in there.
Up and following through.
Right.
Sales, Don, I love your sales analogy. You could look at that as a metaphor for manifestation and creating what you want. Selling yourself to the great universal, I don't know what you want to call it.
Right.
But you've got to keep showing up and demonstrating, this is what I want.
Yep.
This is what I want to do. Even before you have physical evidence of it. I study law of attraction, as you know, as an avid student of that. And you need to show up and tell the law of attraction, tell the universe, tell God, whatever you want to call it, this is what I want. I'm going to feel this way about it. And you're feeling the feelings about it. And so it's kind of what a salesperson is doing.
Yeah.
When they're cold calling on Pepsi over and over and over again without a positive response from Pepsi. It's like, so think of like...
There's 200 other people also calling Pepsi. And if half of them stop calling, suddenly you rise to the top. You're not just another guy in a red hat. You are a guy that keeps calling. Boy, he believes in his podcast, and that somehow I need to advertise in that podcast.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this guy a call back.
However, in the case of the universe and creating a life that you want, it's imagine if Pepsi could give advertising endorsements to everybody.
Right.
You know, and there's unlimited. You know, it's like it's the great universal God is a sugary soft drink and can give you all the endorsements you need.
But going back, and I know we're getting towards the end here, but do you play piano?
No, I don't play anything.
But
very
do
well.
you think you could learn piano?
I could if they had like Piano with the Stars.
Yeah.
And like you had to coach me on how to play chopsticks. I could do it.
Yep. You could. Yeah. You could learn piano.
Yes.
And then if you did a little piano every day.
Yes.
Or every week.
I may never be Beethoven. Or,
you may not ever perform a concert, but
right.
you may be able to plunk out some Happy Birthday at
yes.
a party. You may be able to sit down at the piano in the mall and play some Christmas tunes and
Absolutely.
marvel everybody. You can do that.
Yes.
But it would take time and diligence and stick-to-itiveness to do that,
to get good at something,
like with sales. And it's just like when you feel that moment of inspiration when someone passes, and you think they lived a great life, I could be living a better life. Just because it doesn't happen right away, and you're not playing chopsticks, you're not playing Happy Birthday,
correct.
You're not playing Beethoven's Fifth. Don't stop.
Don't stop. Don't give up.
And the quote that I like, and it's from Naval Ravikant. He's a CEO and founder, and he said, "The most important trick to be happy is to realize that happiness is a choice that you make and a skill that you develop.
Yes.
You choose to be happy, and then you work at it. It's just like building muscles."
Just like building muscles, because you can so quickly, you can turn to focusing on what you don't want. You can turn to focusing on the little piss-me-offs of the day.
Yep.
You know?
So we started this episode talking about living your life to the fullest.
Yes.
Living like there's no tomorrow.
Like there's no tomorrow.
And you don't just do that, but you can learn.
You can learn. You just learn to refocus yourself a little bit every day. You know, because you will go back to your old habits. You will start getting annoyed. And, oh, yes, we're going to do a toast. We are going to do a toast to our dear friend who reminded us to live every day. A toast to living every day.
Yes.
A toast to remembering. To focus on what you want. And what you love.
Couple cubes. And here's a sponsor we need.
Okay, yes.
This is the Traverse City Whiskey Company. This is their American Cherry Bourbon.
I'm looking forward to this.
Mm-hmm. A little for you. A little for me.
Perfect.
All right. Before we toast, want to say any final words?
Matt, we love you wherever you are. We know you're watching over us. And you're cracking a lot of jokes in the afterlife.
Yeah.
And I want to say to the audience, take this seriously. Take your life seriously. Take love seriously. Live life to the fullest. Make choices. Love the people around you. Love yourself.
Matt, we miss you, but you're with us every day.
Every day, Matt.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, that's good.
That is good.
That is good stuff.
The clinking really shows up on the microphone.
Yeah, the clinking does really show up on the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, as we go out, as we outro this episode, we are going to play for you Don's Story Slam, where he tells the story of Matt and the
burnt corned beef.
The burnt corned beef. So without further ado, here is Matt and the burnt corned beef, and we will see you all next week.
Thank you.
All right, folks, get the hands together for the third circle of the night, Don Kowalewski.
All right, my wish for everyone is that at some point in your life, you meet a group of people that are into the same dumb things that you are into. And for me, that happened in college. And my college buddies and I at Michigan State, we loved tailgating. Thank you. And we couldn't wait to get out of Michigan State and get jobs and have money and get back to campus and make the biggest, most awesome tailgates you could possibly imagine. Now, I know what you're saying. Don, are you still in college? Like, no, I look so young. But I moisturize, and for me, college was about 20 years ago. So I had this group of friends, and if you're really lucky, you will have a friend that no matter what crazy idea you throw out there, it's not crazy enough for him, and he wants to make it crazier, and he wants to top you. And that's what I had in my friend Matt. And that's why I loved him, and I think because of him, that's why these tailgates came off. Our tailgates had everything. We had multiple tables, and we had couches, and we had thousands of feet of extension cords plugged into random pop machines and everything to power our crock pots and our hot plates, and we had propane tanks that fired our grills and our boilers and our deep fryers. It was amazing. And that wasn't enough. Every tailgate had a theme. So if Michigan State welcomed Wisconsin to town, it would obviously be cheese, beer, and brats. When Northwestern came to town, just outside Chicago, it was Chicago dogs and Chicago deep dish pizza and old style beer. And so when Notre Dame came to town, the tailgate was all things Irish. Irish coffee, Irish whiskeys, a cooler full of Guinness, and Matt and I, we were going to do corned beef. So the emails went out, everybody got their things, they all packed up. The single guy always brings donuts, it matches every theme for him. Well, we were going to do the corned beef. The only problem was we were fresh out of college, and neither one of us has ever seen or knew how to prepare a corned beef. And we were living in apartments, we didn't have pots and kettles, and we were incapable of making a corned beef. But we had a plan. And so we told our wives, did I mention that I had a wife and he had a fiancé, and neither of them were nearly as excited about tailgating every week and the 5 a.m. wake-up call that allowed us to get up to campus. But we explained to them our great idea. We lived in Detroit, and after work on Friday, we are going to drive 3 hours to Grand Rapids to my parents' house, where she would have the pots and the kettle, and we are going to make the corned beef there. Brilliant idea. A perfect plan. So here's the numbers. We bought a 30-pound corned beef. Does anybody know how long it takes to boil a 30-pound beef? My mom's Betty Crocker cookbook said 1 hour for every pound. So here's the Blues Brothers math. 30 pounds of corned beef, 30 hours of boiling time required. It was 10 o'clock at night. We had to be up in 7 hours at 5 a.m. to make the 1 hour drive back to East Lansing, and we had 2 very annoyed wives' fiancés. Brave Matt. He said, I will stay up all night and watch our corned beef. I went to bed. I was going to relieve him at 3 a.m. He would go to sleep. He'd sleep in the car on the way up to Lansing. Everything would be perfect. It'd be the most amazing tailgate. I remember waking up to an alarm, but it wasn't a clock alarm. It was my parents' smoke alarm. So I rose from my bed to see what was the matter, and what to my wondering eyes should appear but smoke, and Matt and my dad in whitey tighties, waving towels, and my mom opening all the windows and the doors trying to get the smoke out. Matt had fallen asleep, the water had boiled out of the pot, and the corned beef was blackened. And so Matt, thinking quickly, said, let's just cut off the burnt parts, boil what we can, we'll salvage the day, and go. So that's what Matt did. Matt made the best of every situation. And we got to tailgate, and it turns out, thank God the single guy brought donuts, because that was the highlight of the meal. Well, life moved on, and Matt and I had many adventures. We've been to Key West on the Millennium New Year's Eve. We've been to Napa Valley, countless Halloween parties and New Year's Eve parties. But then he got married, he had kids, I had kids. Life went on. I saw less of Matt. But what I loved is seeing on social media Matt's brand of crazy and fun he was bringing to his wife and daughters. I didn't say that our adventures were ending. I just said they were to be continued. And then last October, at 47 years old, while out for a run, he died of a heart attack. And so because I am the loudmouth, loud-talking friend, I was asked to speak at his funeral. And Matt doesn't do things simple. He had 2 funerals in 2 different cities with hundreds of people at both. So I had to give the eulogy. And as I looked at his 3 daughters, 6th grade, 5th grade, 3rd grade, in the front row of both, I thought of this story, but I didn't tell it because it sounded to me too much like Forrest Gump. Life is like a burnt corned beef. You got to cut off the burnt parts and move on. But I wanted them to know this story because isn't that why we tell these stories? These stories, even the people that have gone, as long as we're telling stories about them, they're still here. And maybe you'll be at a tailgate someday and you'll tell this story and Matt will be at that tailgate with you. So what I learned was Matt made everything better. Everywhere he went, life was better. And it's not about dwelling on the burnt parts, but it's celebrating the best parts. And Matt was the best part. Thank you.
Keep it going for Don.